Mia, are you home? I came out to the living room and saw my father throw his office bag on the couch. He looked rather angry. What's the matter, Dad? Mia, I'm sorry, but I think you should break up with Alex. He's not the right guy. I was shocked. Alex was my boyfriend, and my dad really liked him. We had been going for 2 years, and sure, we had our ups and downs, but we were still great together. What? What do you mean, Dad? Why are you suddenly asking me to break up? You liked Alex, and even if you don't now, I'm sure we can talk about it calmly. No, this is no discussion. It's for your own better. I saw him at the old building in Powley, where we were going to start redevelopment. He was lying on the floor, intoxicated, with his friends. It was 9 in the morning, for heaven's sake. Dad, Alex doesn't do any of that. He only smokes. Maybe you saw someone else who looked like him. Alex just woke up. He texted me good morning with a selfie from his room. Mia, honey, I know what I saw. I know you love him, but not only is he doing drugs, but he's hiding it from you. How about I call Alex and we solve this over a cup of coffee? I'm sure it's all a misunderstanding. Dad looked unsure, but he sighed and agreed. I called Alex instantly and asked him to come over urgently. When he came over, Dad looked at him and got angry. They both had a heated argument, but Alex kept saying that he was never at the old building and had been home all this time. Eventually, I interfered and told Dad that I trusted Alex. I'd been dating him for 2 years now, and I'd never seen him intoxicated. I was sure my dad had seen someone else and mixed him with Alex. When the atmosphere at home was a bit calm, Alex came to me in the kitchen while Dad smoked in the living room. We both made pancakes for us. Alex made some pancakes for Dad to cheer him up. He knew that my dad meant a lot to me, and Alex always wanted to see me happy. I told Alex that it didn't matter that my dad didn't like him, and I still loved him either way. My dad had brought me up single-handedly after my mother passed away when I was only 6. He was just protective of me, and I was sure that eventually he would get over his misunderstanding and accept Alex as my boyfriend again. After our breakfast, Alex asked me if he could have lunch together, and I agreed. We both left for lunch. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the sky was clear, so we dedicated to go to a far-off restaurant. We had a lovely time as usual, and Alex dropped me home before he went to his office. He told me that he would be visiting his parents and would be busy for a while. I always thought it was amazing how much he cared about them. When I came home, I rang the bell multiple times, but when no one answered, I assumed that my dad had gone out. I took out the spare key from my purse and opened the door. The lights in the house were still on, so I went to the living room, expecting Dad to have fallen asleep, but instead, I saw my dad, with his eyes closed, lying on the floor next to the coffee table. I panicked. Dad! I screamed. I whipped out my phone and called the ambulance immediately. It was only a few minutes before I saw the medics rush around my dad to give him first aid. When he was stable, I sat in the ambulance and the medic told me it was a stroke. I was surprised. My dad had never had a stroke. He had always been so conscious about health. At the hospital, as I waited in the lobby, a doctor came up to me looking flushed and told me that my dad had taken cocaine orally, which had caused a stroke. He then asked me about my dad's drug use. What? My dad doesn't do any drugs. I don't understand. Are you sure? Miss Mia, we are sure. The test results indicate it clearly. I'm sorry, but we will have to go ahead and call the police. Cocaine is illegal here. Like I told you, He has never taken cocaine. I don't understand. Is he all right? He's stable. Now you'll excuse me. The doctor left me and disappeared around the corner. I kept thinking back to the conversation I had with Dad in the morning. I no longer knew what to believe. Was my dad the one on drugs or my boyfriend? I paced around the lobby trying to call Alex, but he didn't pick up. Soon enough, the police were around. They questioned me for a very long time, and although I didn't want to believe it, I had a hunch that perhaps Alex actually did use drugs. There was no way Dad would have been able to hide drugs from me while we lived together. That seemed to be the only practical explanation. This whole situation didn't make any sense otherwise. I informed the police of my suspicions and they wanted to meet Alex to question him. I decided to go to Alex's house to get him. The policeman wanted to accompany me, but I convinced him that I'd get Alex here myself. If I'm wrong, I didn't want to bring the police to Alex and cause him any trouble. When I reached Alex's house, I rang the bell for a long time. When he didn't open, I decided to try the back door through the kitchen. The house seemed eerily quiet except for some music coming from upstairs. I went upstairs to check if Alex was there, and when I saw him, I was shocked. Alex was on his couch, holding a joint and smoking it. He seemed completely intoxicated. He looked at me and didn't react at all. Mia, didn't know I loved you enough for you to be in my hallucination. Oh, I hope Mr. Curb is already dead. Taking cocaine and pancakes should do the deed for the old hag. He was staring directly at me, emotionless. I stood at one place, stunned. Alex got up and came towards me. He tucked some of my hair behind my ears. His eyes were blood red. I'd known Alex for so long, but this side of him, I never knew it even existed. Oh, look how pretty you are. I liked your dad, Mia. He was a cool guy, you know, but he was going to cause problems between us. Not just us. He would have ruined everything. You know how boring and ethical he is. He would have called the cops on me. Ruined. Everything would have been ruined. It hurt me to do it, look. He was so high, he couldn't even tell I was real. He wanted to purposely kill my father. Before I knew, my hand was raised and I slapped him hard. And as he shook his head, puzzled, "You! How could you have been so vile to have killed my father just to hide your addiction?" Mia? You are actually here? How did you get into the house? What the hell are you doing inside my house? Tears were already streaming down my cheeks. My father was in the hospital because of my own boyfriend, because I chose to believe him over Dad. I began to rush out of the house. Alex held my arm and pulled me. I was about to scream as he put his hands on my mouth, shutting it. Mia, oh, I would have never thought to do this. Why did you come here, honey? Didn't I tell you I was busy? He said, what am I to do with you? His one hand was still on my mouth while he was holding my arm, twisting it behind my back. I looked around the room in frantic panic. I saw a bottle of alcohol on the table and grabbed it. Before Alex could even do anything, I used all my might to hit his arm with the bottle. Blood splattered around as he began wincing in pain, releasing me from his grasp. I ran outside the door as fast as I could and called the police. I explained to them what had happened, and they told me that they would be there immediately. I took a cab and went to the hospital to check on my father. Alex was taken to the police station. In his intoxication, it wasn't difficult for the police to have him confess. My statement and his confession was enough for the police to put him behind bars. On further investigation, the police found out that Alex was a small-time drug dealer. Not only was he himself addicted, but he had attempted to get people in schools and colleges hooked on drugs. He was charged for attempt to murder and for the use and sale of illegal drugs. I also filed a case against him for violence. It would be a long time before Alex would even see the light of the day. Dad took some time to recover from his stroke and even longer to recover from the shock when I told him about everything that had happened with Alex. He told me that everything happens for a reason. And sure, we got a hard blow, but at least we found out everything on time before it would have cost our lives or futures.